All right, welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoig.
Brian Shesko.
Gentlemen, we are right on the cusps of the season. We are finally getting to our preseason promotion pod, and I'm excited about this, at least for one club. The other two clubs are fine, but for one club I'm really excited about. We know the other two clubs as well, but we will discuss them. This is the first time that we've done – that's not true. I was about to say, is this the first time we've done this without Scott? Scott usually crushes. Scott,
I can't remember.
I can't remember if we did it last season. Anyways, Scott normally crushes a preseason pod. We hoped to have gotten him on, and unfortunately, we could not do it.
We ran out of funds. We couldn't afford him.
We couldn't afford him. So we're going to go through this as best we can, and we are going to launch into Ipswich Town FC. This is fun for me because.
Wait, do you want to? Can I say something first?
Absolutely.
Before we launch right into it?
Yeah, sure.
Just I feel like it's a promoted clubs and it's 4 days before kickoff, and I think the natural question would be why now? And so it
has nothing to do with David's vacation.
I just wanted to address the simple fact that we know the most possible information about them now.
True. And
we haven't talked about them yet.
This is true.
Also, does anything that you knew, or just ask this is my counterpoint question to anyone asking why now.
Sure.
Does anything you knew before about these clubs or that you know now, does that really move the needle for you all that much when it comes to the promoted sides when you're picking your FPL team? So that I think that's what we'll answer that permanently in this podcast. I just wanted to say, like,
in the past, I feel like we've been able to hone in on some nuggets that can eventually help you either in week one or makes us look good as we go into the next early weeks. Because
I don't know, I seem to remember a lot of talk of Grant Hanley and then him doing nothing.
Yeah, that's true. Saying. That's true.
Look, there was
just saying
2 weeks where he was valid owed to Norwich.
I would just say another question you might have is why bother? You know, kind of on the heels of that other rhetorical question there before. Just that last season, the 3 promoted and then relegation for all the promoted sides, that is an anomaly. That it's the first time that had happened since 1998. Statistically,
all 3 promoted clubs stayed up.
Now, this is according to ESPN, who offers this without any number to back it up as an official statistic, but that it's just as likely for all 3 promoted clubs to stay up as it is for all 3 of them to be re-relegated.
Okay.
So, and I would just say, like, are any of these teams Sheffield or Burnley like they were last year? Even if they are, did Ben Brereton Diaz make it into your team at any point last season? He was in mine. That's not impossible for somebody to flare up. Also, everyone cared about Luton last season. Alfie Doughty.
Absolutely.
And Carlton Morris at the very least. You could even throw Tahit Chong in there at some point. But either way, the point being that
there's going to be some value here.
It seems like at least 2 of these teams, like we said, that there's quality and I don't necessarily pedigree. I don't want to say it like that, but there's definitely there's enough talent.
I beg to differ.
But
pedigree. Come on.
Well, I'm saying, Southampton's been here before, but I'm just saying, like, I just think there's
I think
not.
You're selling Ipswich short.
I think there's definitely talent.
So
I guess the minimum I want to say about it. And I'm not saying like, they're up here or whatever, but just that there's
minimal talent. Got it.
Minimal talent.
Your point is very valid. And one small thing to go along with that is the fact that so many teams, a lot of people going with Holland, Salah, and then Asaka, Palmer, and there is a lot of people are looking for value.
Mm-hmm.
And the promoted clubs always pose players that can give you value, especially if you have some heavy hitters.
True.
I don't have. That's not true. I think I have one Southampton player on my team.
Whoa.
But Other than that, currently
That's
at the
one more
moment,
than
the
me.
team that has completely fluctuated back and forth, my team, Lord help me, who knows? It'll probably change again after we record this evening. So,
But yeah, I feel like I just wanted to say that up front, just as a reminder. Like, Carlton Morris, who's no longer in the league, was the number 8 forward in scoring last season, ahead of Darwin, ahead of Nicholas Jackson, ahead of players that you easily thought about or cared about for many weeks last season. Carlton Morris outscored both of those guys. So just throwing the quick reminder before we launch into Ipswich.
Let's discuss Ipswich Town Football Club. Their nickname is the Blues, also the Tractor Boys, which is a fantastic name. They've been around for about 145 years. Their ground, Brian, do you know their ground?
I have it in front of me, but I don't want to. I'll let you say it.
Portman Road.
Yeah,
Travis. Portman Road. And
never been.
Take me home.
They are managed by Kieran McKenna.
Yes.
I don't know that guy.
He seems like he's magic.
He does.
Okay.
He also seems like everybody wanted him this summer.
Okay.
But he said no.
And he said no. He said, I am dancing with the girl that I brought to the dance. Listen, the Ipswich has done something that not many teams have done. I feel like Luton's done this recently. Luton got to the Premier League with 4 promotions in 5 years. Ipswich was in League One 2022-23 season. They promoted out of that into Championship, and then so they went back-to-back promotions: League One, Championship, and now Premier League. And I just think that's just so hard to do, man. Especially when you watch like Wrexham. I mean, who doesn't watch Wrexham and their story and follow them kind of on their road? And they just played their first League One match and won a few days ago, which is fun. So it's stories like that, stories like Luton, Ipswich.
That's all I could think when I saw that is, how can Dave not root for this?
Root for Ipswich?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, for sure. It also was fun to root for them because one of the guys in our mini league and one of our loyal listeners for ages, maybe one of our longest loyal listeners, League Barry,
he might be the first person outside of our families.
Listen, he represents.
That's a sad title to have, though.
Barry is fantastic. He has always been. He follows the Premier League. Has always been with us at FPL. Follows the pod, but he has always given us reports on Ipswich Town because that's his logo, and that's his true club. And so when they got promoted, it was, holy crap, Barry, what are you partying for days? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And so anyways, and maybe we'll get to them in a few minutes, Travis. We contacted him. We posed some questions. We hope to get him on the pod. We weren't able to do so, but we'd had questions. And Travis, I'll let you direct us through that when we get there. So their club history, Brian, anyone can go to their Wikipedia page and read it. So I don't know if I need to blast through it all.
No, you can give the overview.
The overview. So
22 years outside the league.
Yep. They made it. Travis, you go. You take it.
So Barry actually shared this, and and that made it a whole lot easier because then I didn't have to go to their Wikipedia page and summarize. So couple of really important things. 22 years away from the top division, which is a long time, right?
They probably have a club history on their own club website.
So here's the key things. You said something about pedigree, and a couple of things that are interesting about Ipswich are they have won one league title, one FA Cup, and one UEFA Cup, which is the equivalent of today's Europa League.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay. So not everybody can say that. So they've been around for a long time. They've been out of the top division for a long time, but they have won.
Right. So highly irrelevant pedigree. I'm sorry.
Wow.
That's not
Brian,
what I'm trying. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Yellow card. Where's the cards? I need cards this season 2 yellow cards, and you're off the pod for the rest of the night, okay?
Recency bias.
All right, fair enough.
That would not fly.
That was the
because then-
alternate
then it would
title.
just be us shouting about weird things
sure.
that don't matter.
You're
It was
right.
the alternate
We'd have no
title of
stats. It would be a problem.
of this pod.
All right, Travis, continue.
That was it. That was
Okay.
the big setup. Barry has a lot to say about style and key players and things like that. I don't know if you want to move into that or what.
Well, no, let's do that, and then we can discuss players that could affect things. Brian, I know that you were loaded with that, so go ahead. Let's just jump right into Barry's words.
Yeah. So based on what Barry is describing here, it sounds like a team that is very similar to Luton from last season.
That sounds fun to me.
High
'cause
energy
I love
attacking.
watching. Look, let's be honest. Luton last season, their games were the most fun games of anyone. They weren't scared of anyone. They went at every single person. They were willing to lose 6-0 or scare the pants off Liverpool or Arsenal or whoever. When
Take
you
it tight at
came
home.
into Luton's, I can't think of their stadium now, unfortunately. When you came into the Luton Town Road ground, you better be ready for a fight. Dang it, what is it? If only there was a way. Anyway,
You look it up, and I'll talk to you about them
continue
some
to go.
more.
It's irrelevant.
So, attacking football, lots of possession, very calm in possession. The one of the key things that they did throughout the course of last season was they took risks.
Okay.
Right, high risk, high reward, and I'm sure you have plenty of stats, but their goals came from all over the place. They have a couple of stars that I'm sure we will get to, but one of the biggest things about their team performance was it was a team performance. They didn't rely on any talismanic player within the team.
It does sound like Luton.
They spread it out. Everybody contributed, and they were very dominant when they played. So
yeah, I was going to say probably the most consistent thing that you can find about them is no reliance on any one goal scorer, spread out over multiple people who contributed. They might like to find someone who they could rely on for goals. I hope they do in the Premier League, but hopefully the style can translate. That it's not like a target man, but definitely seems like they have the volume, and that's the thing. Some of their attacking numbers are just crazy.
Yeah, and they make a lot of chances, so that is good. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of noise around big money signings, nor is there a ton of noise about them losing anybody at this point. So
which is good because a lot of times
stability.
The teams that get promoted, Nottingham Forest, end up loaning so many guys out when they get promoted. They end up accepting so many loans
or buying. Not even Forest.
Spent ridiculous. Well, they had points reduced last season because of it. So it does make you wonder. It doesn't seem like they've done that, or if they did, they've done it in such a way they've been able to keep the players. And I would think that again, manager stayed, so that's awesome. Even though he probably could have taken other jobs. And if you have a team, that you've just gone promotion, and sure, you're not going to win the Premier League, but you want to stay up. That's the first goal, is just to stay up. There's probably a tendency to be like, okay, we got some extra money here. Should we invest it in someone? But does that disrupt the mojo of the locker room? So anyways, that always, if you bring in could this be a great landing spot for like Eddie Nketiah or another younger striker who could be a point man? I don't know, maybe, but it doesn't seem like they're too interested in that. They were like, we want to do it our way, and I respect that.
Yeah. Just one final thing before we can start talking about actual specific players. Barry made note of their derby is with Norwich. Norwich, speaking of Grant Hanley. And because it's such a big farming community, aka Tractor Boys, their derby is actually called the Old Farm Derby.
I love that.
Obviously a play on the Old Firm Derby from Glasgow.
Okay. Okay.
north of the border there,
I see
which is
that.
cool. So he's got a couple notes about some players to watch, but I'm curious what you guys think. I've already prepped him about how bad we're going to do with identifying the best buys from Ipswich, and he's waiting with bated breath to
I'm
correct
sure
us.
he is.
Much like
sure he
Scott,
is.
we tried to tempt him to come onto the pod, like you said, but we're not worthy. So
Yeah. Well, we talked about a little bit. I mean, we touched on it with Leaf Davis and I think a couple of the other names came out.
do you still have him in your team?
I don't know, because I don't know if I saved any of my. I think he
Playing,
might still
yeah.
be in the actual team, but as far as like the tinkering goes,
Yeah.
he usually makes way for somebody either significantly cheaper or way more expensive.
Right.
So, or not significantly cheaper,
Well,
0.5 cheaper, but
Right.
or somebody who's
like
way
Leaf
more
Davis
expensive.
for me or Konza. Like those are both 4.5s. And I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I mean, what's your top 4.5 to fill that spot?
Yeah.
It might not be Konza. It might be someone else.
What I was gonna say for their like it's the two sides of the super attacking, aggressive coin is just they finished with we said I think before just a plus 35 goal differential, so that's amazing. Lost 6 games, so we definitely talked about that last time with just going for it.
Yeah.
And in their case, produced more wins, and not a lot of, and then for them, not a lot of losses. They finished second in the championship by a point.
Okay.
So whatever. I mean that could have gone one. Like they could have easily finished first. Whatever.
Sure. Leicester won it, right? Correct.
They scored 59 goals at home last season. So 59 of their 92, I think they scored 92.
Good stats there. Okay.
They scored 59 goals at home, which was first by a wide
lot.
margin.
Okay.
So Leicester scored 47. So they were second.
Portman Road.
Yeah. Look out.
Look out.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they averaged 15.6 shots per game.
Wow. Okay.
So
Even if-
Southampton was close. Southampton was an extremely close second, 15.5.
Okay.
So either way, but they are it's volume. So it's
Sure.
shot volume.
Okay.
They only lost one game at home
Okay.
last season.
Wow.
So they're 16-6-1 at home. I guess the other side of it, and this is this is available multiple places, but I specifically found it from Tom Freeman on Fantasy Scout. Just that 57 goals conceded. So they were 7th for goals conceded.
Right. They play 44 games in the championship, I think.
And the stat that we gave last time, just that they
48.
conceded
They played
2
48.
or more goals in 40% of their
Yeah.
fixtures. Not great.
They conceded 2 or more goals.
2 or
In
more
40%.
in 39%.
39%. Okay. No, that's fine. Even if you were able to take one of their defenders, and I wonder how many of those matches that they conceded 2 or more were on the road, as opposed to being at home.
But then you start getting into they in real life conceded a ton, but they had the 3rd lowest expected goals conceded.
But let's also remember they played
And-
48 games, 10 games more than in the Premier League.
Sure, but then they also, I was going to say too, only Leicester and Sunderland conceded fewer away goals. So they were unbelievable at home, attacking wise.
Offensively, yeah.
And then on the road, they had the most clean sheets in the championship, and were 3rd behind Leicester and Sunderland for away goals conceded.
So when they're at home, their fans say, "No clean sheets today, guys. We're
Yeah.
going for it
Yeah.
every time."
6-4.
I
Let's
guess that's
do it.
Yeah, I guess that's the question then. Though, is that a formation or strategy change on the road, or is that just a convenient statistic?
So one of the guys that we definitely want to talk about, like more enabling than Leaf Davis, is Ben Johnson, who one of the summer transfers brought in from West Ham. This is FPL Reuser, I think is how you say it, Reuser. this is somebody who's talked about them. I know he talked about this with I think it was with Late Riser.
Is it assumed that Ben Johnson's going to be starting?
Well, yeah. So that's the question: is whether it's. I guess he started the friendlies. Started the most recent, or the last friendly they played against Nice.
He did.
He's new, so technically, I guess you can't say he's nailed the spot down yet. But the way it was put by Reuser was that he seems to fit both the attacking formations and the formation they would play in their more difficult matchups.
Interesting.
So because of his attacking capabilities, though, that when he does have the chance when he has the chance, he will be able to get into advanced positions from time to time. This is the exact way he put it. So I know that Ben Johnson is one of those guys. I was just thinking that when he played some of those games where he started for West Ham, when he got a run in the side, he had real flashes of hey, this guy's really good.
Okay.
So, this is a chance now where this is it's not a loan, it's a full transfer in. And so, yeah, I think this is one of those guys for the season, to me, he's a better enabler than anybody else that we'll talk about that's 4-0, including 4-0 from the promoted sides.
Okay.
So I
not higher than Barco. Or maybe Haywood.
No, that's the only guy. Barco's the only one.
What about Haywood Bellis?
No, and I'll give you numbers on him when we get to Southampton.
Good
but
question.
just that this he's up to 2.2% selected. So Leif Davis I think was the most, but he was 2.3%. So I just think Ben Johnson went from probably not selected at all to now being basically as in as many FPL teams as Leif Davis is. And Leif Davis is the one that we have all the numbers on, that we know for sure is just somebody who I think is the legitimate guy. If you want to look for this season, why couldn't he be this season's Alfie Doughty? You know what I mean?
Right.
I just think the numbers for him are better. But what I'm saying is that Ben Johnson being on the kind of the opposite side of Leif Davis, yeah, I just think for 4-0, as the enabler becomes, I don't know. I just feel how often are you starting these guys anyway?
Right.
But I think that's somebody that's definitely worth considering.
Both guys are in 2.2-ish, 2.3% of teams, which is very, very low. Davis, a lot of noise around Davis, but doesn't sound like a lot of people are biting on him right now. 4.5 is a little much. Ben Johnson, I'm surprised that it's not higher than that at 4.0. Is it just that we're not sure that he's going to start at this stage?
I think it's that. Yeah, I think it's just this is just recent. Also, comes into the team.
He's already labeled as an Ipswich defender,
right?
But
just that I'm saying
and that lags by weeks because they're so slow typically.
I'm just thinking it's it took him a minute even to get preseason time, and then when you see him in preseason, it's oh look, well there it is. There he is in advanced positions. There he actually is doing kind of what you'd hope of him if he gets in there. Hopefully this translates into the season.
You owned him at the beginning of last season, didn't you?
I may have. I definitely have had him in my team before.
Okay, I was just curious.
No, but
this is good.
I would just say, no matter what, when we can talk, if we want numbers on Leif Davis, we can go back over those again. But just, I think the schedule, no matter what, you're already, we've talked about it before, the caveat, as always, when discussing any schedule is how beholden you are to the color-coded matchup rating system for
true.
FPL. But it's Liverpool at home and away to Manchester City in game weeks 1 and 2 for Ipswich. The reddest of red matches to start the first 2 games, and then a sea of green basically for 8 weeks after that. And so, of course, this is the way the colors are now is a lot of green, with Aston Villa being the one grayish matchup. Is at West Ham really a green matchup?
No.
I don't see that as green, but
I don't know if we know
not,
yet.
Not with West Ham.
I don't think we know yet.
Especially
West Ham's done a great job, I feel like, at some transfers
quietly
and signings.
crushed this off.
Onana adding.
They're doing pretty
was
well.
it Villa that added Onana or West Ham?
Villa.
I can't remember.
It was Villa.
West Ham's transfers, and I can't think of them. I'm trying to load things for whatever reason, my computer's not loading pages. I don't know if the internet's struggling or if it's my computer. Probably my computer.
Internet's fine.
And then-
so
Oh my gosh.
So you're looking through it.
user
And
error.
you say, you see Liverpool, Manchester City, and you're like, oh, I'm not playing my guys in that match anyway. Fulham, home, Brighton away, Southampton away. So those three, you're like, oh, that's good. If I have to play one of my guys, if I have to play Ipswich in that,
Sure.
those matches, totally fine.
Great.
Home to Aston Villa. Then it's a iffy. Then they're at West Ham. Again, by then we'll have a better idea of how good
Agreed.
West Ham actually are,
Yep.
but at West Ham wasn't even necessarily easy last season. I don't know how green it was last season, but whatever. And then they're home to Everton, another match where you're like, is that really green? Is Everton defensively? Is that what you want to attack? It doesn't feel like as green as the matchups make it seem. And then away to Brentford and home to Leicester kind of round out that the first 10 weeks of Ipswich. So by color coding, amazing. Like 2 games that are bad and then 8 in a row where you're like, well, they're kind of playable, and then you dig in and you're like, well, I don't know how great some of those are, but either way, I think the point is that unless your team is set up in a really odd way, you wouldn't play a tractor boy until game week 3 anyway. So,
Gotcha.
by then
I have a little bit of info. Honestly, usually by 3 or 4, I'm wild carding. Anyways,
and guess what? Game week 1, if Ipswich score 2 against new Liverpool, then all of a sudden you're like, well, hey, now they will be in my thinking once we get through Manchester City. And then, heck, who knows? Maybe they score again against Manchester City, and you're like, I should have gotten on the bandwagon sooner. So, no, so that's why, right now, like in my any of the tinkering I've done recently, it ends up being it's Ben Johnson or Barco who end up as the 4.0 guys in my team.
Okay.
What else? We talked about Leif Davis a couple weeks ago.
We did.
I mean, do we need to go back into it? Just say he set the record he set the assist record. I mean, I feel like that by itself, like anybody
as a defender.
Yes. I'm saying anyone that we've ever talked about in any promoted pod, anytime, it's always like, hey, Alexander Mitrovic scored 50,000 goals from the previous season. All right, so how does that translate into the Premier League? Like,
even if you take a third of it, it's still pretty good.
It's still really good. And so I think for him, it's the volume of chance creation. And so I guess, that there are other seasons where it's like, well, that didn't quite happen for so-and-so. Like, the guy didn't maybe do as much. But last season, Alfie Doughty came in with that same kind of volume, and then he finishes last season. He was the number 1 defender for chances created by the end of the season.
Okay.
So a guy who lots of people had in their team, and I feel like Leif Davis is one of those guys. Like, that was amazing.
I just reset my computer. I did not know that it was going to do that.
So 18 assists in the championship, breaking Kieran Trippier's previous record. Created 126 chances over the course of the season, which was number 1 of all players.
Leif Davis?
Yes. Created 126 chances for the season. Almost 3 chances created per 90 minutes.
Wow.
So that's fantastic. And he was the number 1 defender.
Or a right back.
Number 1 defender for big chances created. 15 big chances created. He took 218 corner kicks. I mean, that's
unbelievable.
That's just a lot. And then he was 10th for defenders for shots. So he took 31 shots, 12 shots on target, which tied for 5th for defenders. Again, I just feel like the question for forever is just, all right, what does that look like?
Wow.
What does that look like in the Premier League? What does that look like when your competition is, when you're fighting every last bit of energy, to stay up?
Yeah.
They're currently the second best odds to be relegated or to be relegated this season.
Really?
Yeah. That's
interesting.
So they're Leicester is top, but
To get
Ipswich is second worst odds to be relegated.
Okay.
So who knows? I don't think you want them to go back down right away, but who knows? I just think that's where when you get into the other players, where you're like, all right, well, who are their top goal scorers? And you're like, well, it was Connor Chaplin and Nathan Broadhead shared the team lead in goals with 13. And you're like, well, can't they get more? Is there someone who can do more than that? Probably not. But like, I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't seem like. I don't want to compare them to any team last season because Burnley didn't have a target man and they were bad. And Carlton Morris might have been the kind of the main scorer, but still, like, it's not like he was a guy where you're like, oh man, that guy's automatic. It's not like Pookie was years ago for Norwich, where it was like, hey, that guy might really score every single game this season. So they don't have that. The only thing you can do is hope, like, one of the names I'm sure, I would assume Barry would have included Omari Hutchinson on the list. And that was the other guy that's kind of like, hey, this guy's real talent. The manager said like one of his wish list items for returning to the team is get me Omari. And they did.
I think that he is an Arsenal product, if I'm not crazy. I think he came out of their academy. I could be completely smoking something here. Hey, Davis plays left back for them. Real quick, against Nice. Ben Johnson did play. I'm looking at flashscorecard.com. Had him as a right winger, not right back.
Yeah.
That might be something to keep an eye on. I mean, you bring it up, and it's like, wait a minute, whoa. He's going to be playing in like where Saka would play? So they lined up against Nice in a 4-2-3-1 with the lap being the striker, and then Johnson was on the right side, the 3 right behind.
And that's a good signing.
The striker, right?
Well, you'd like to think that it is. If
I get my
Manchester
point being is
City carries anyway.
He's a defender. Looks like he's early playing advanced. Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he's definitely. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, he's a guy that you want to take a chance. Like, you can see the fixtures opening up in game week 3 for them.
Against Hoffenheim before that, he did play right back.
Right.
So maybe they were trying to feel some things out, but he absolutely moved further up in the pitch.
Hutchinson started with Chelsea.
Okay.
And then went to Charlton, Arsenal, back to Chelsea, and then Ipswich.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. He was at Arsenal
for a good little while.
Okay. All right, very cool. Listen, if you're
years.
able to make it to the Arsenal and Chelsea academies, you have talent. I mean, so good for him, and good for Tractor Boys finding a spot for him.
And good job, Dave, for somehow managing to
bring Arsenal into it.
Arsenal.
Always, brother. Let's go. All right. Anything else Travis Barry had for us?
The only thing I will mention is that no penalty taker of note. They didn't get a lot last season in the championship, so it could be Chaplin, could be Hurst, could be Delap, but there is no clear penalty taker. So if you're looking for that,
Brian.
Well, I was just gonna say for Omari Hutchinson, like, it seems like as talent goes, this is top talent. So 10 goals and 5 assists from him. The issue was that he scored 8 goals and 3 assists after February.
Okay.
So from February on, he was one of the top, and he was a top monthly and kind of weekly and monthly top rated player.
Okay.
Who scored and SoFA score and stuff like that.
Nice.
But I think the issue is, like, he's 5.5. So he's 5.5
Omari
in FPL.
is, right. And he's competing with Smith Rowe.
Right, so exactly. You're already targeting Smith
Oscar
Rowe.
Bob at 5-0. Right? Like,
which
Morgan Rogers
looks even better now with City selling.
Yeah.
Morgan Rogers at Aston Villa.
Great
And I would say maybe the Nottingham Forest boys, like Hudson Odoi and Alanga, both
Are 5'5".
5.5.
I
Minta at Brighton is
Brighton.
5.5. Heck,
Yep.
Jacob Murphy is 5.5.
I know. Murphy's minutes is the issue. That should be a thing.
So, but
Murphy's
either way,
minutes.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think the issue is like, yeah, great, they have a fixture run that looks real green, but the whole point of like targeting Smith Rowe early on is that Fulham's fixture run to start the season is extremely good, and everyone's already talking about Aston Villa's fixture run after game week 2,
Right.
for a move to Ollie Watkins or whatever in their forward line, and so like a lot of these guys are already on people's short list because of fixture runs. So I guess that's the question.
Okay.
Is like, no doubt, like, the talent can be there, and heck, you might see it. It's just, I guess, what do you need to see? Like, what needs to happen for
Just
you
results. I mean,
Right, that's what-
eye test. I mean, we'll all be watching the Liverpool match. So is Liverpool
Yeah.
going to grog smash against Ipswich, or will it be more of a cagey battle? And will Ipswich puff their chest up and get in like, hey, we're going to be here all season?
They have to show out. It's home. It's
For
home
sure.
for the first game. They're promoted
the
to
place-
Premier League. Of course.
Oh, man, this is giving me
That should be amazing.
who rocked Arsenal a couple seasons ago? Was it Brentford at home when they got promoted?
Could be.
That sounds right.
That sounds right, doesn't it? Like 2 or 3 seasons ago, Arsenal got just thumped at Brentford on a Friday night. So, yeah, I mean, look, we've seen it happen before, and results catch us off guard. So, all right, anything else on Ipswich?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Southampton. Southampton Football Club. We are not unfamiliar with Southampton. They are the Saints. They've been a club for 138 years. They play in St. Mary's Stadium. That is their ground. Capacity 32,384.
That's a great high school in Texas.
It surely is. It surely is.
That's not.
And so, look, they've been a club around forever. It feels like since I've been following the Premier League for at least the last 15 years, this is the first time that I remember Southampton getting relegated.
Yeah.
And again, a proper club could actually look at that. But Travis, feel free to jump in at any moment if you see something that I'm missing.
When they got relegated, they were awful.
Last season.
2 seasons.
I mean, look,
I'm saying
for-
2 seasons.
they
ago,
were-
Oh, got you. Right.
They were real bad.
Right.
But they've since brought in top names like Charlie Taylor and Jan Bednarak.
And Adam Lallana
And-
gets his swan song. Right.
No, look, Southampton for many years was a consistent mid-table team, and they could never get past mid-table because Liverpool for years was always poaching their top players.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what prevented them from hitting
Sadio
hitting the
Mane,
top.
Adam Lallana, who was the striker. I can't think of his name.
Lovren.
Lovren. I mean, I'm serious. It
Ricky
literally
Lambert.
Ricky Lambert. Yes,
It was a good flow.
It was a consistent. Southampton was the feeder club for Liverpool for many, many years. But no, it's good to have them back. It's always good to have a Southern Coast battle when they play Bournemouth or especially Brighton. I feel like Southampton and Brighton kind of have a thing. It's not exactly the A52 or whatever stupid derby that is, Brian. It's not exactly Palace and Brighton, but I feel like when Southampton and Brighton play is always a thing there. So anyways, the Saints, look, I don't know. Are they any better than they were when they got relegated?
I just named all the names that you needed to hear.
I mean,
I will say the one I didn't name was one that you've already named this evening.
who? What?
Ben Brereton Diaz.
Oh, Ben Diaz, yeah. So, what I was going to say...
Was Southampton?
Yes.
Yeah, Southampton got him.
Oh, wow, okay.
They are currently said they are the lowest of the 3 promoted teams odds to be relegated.
So is that saying that they have let the early favorites to not get relegated?
They have the best odds
of staying up.
Of the 3 promoted teams of staying up.
Really?
However, they have horrible percentage-wise. It's a horrible chance of staying up.
I think that, I mean, their club has the pedigree. Now, can they actually do things? I guess that is going to be...
The senior Saints reporter, Alfie House, writing for the Southern Daily Echo, put it this way. Southampton do not have a squad of proven Premier League players, despite adding some know-how in additions such as Charlie Taylor and Adam Lallana. I'm not confident. And I don't know how Southampton could be, other than that they're more stable than Leicester is. So other than stability that's ahead of Leicester, and you think like if you get the worst version of Everton this year and another like struggling version of Nottingham Forest this year, and it can be like another 5-horse
I'm looking
race
at this
to
roster,
the bottom.
dude. I'm looking at this at their roster. Forest's roster is better than their roster.
Forest is way better.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Right, that's what I mean.
If they don't make some form of signings,
but they have
or loans,
They have.
They've made some signings,
and they've made some. I think they've made some good signings.
Okay.
So the whole thing is about like, unless you guys have somebody else you want to talk about.
You like small bone?
I don't.
Okay, just throwing it out there.
Adam Armstrong. Adam the only one you want to talk about. Yeah.
All right.
24 goals and 13 assists is good. I don't care who
That's good production. 5'5". A lot of people out there. Is he the best 5'5" striker out there?
That is the question. I think that doesn't seem to be the way people are choosing, because people are choosing Joao Pedro as their 5'5" striker.
Okay, which makes sense.
Yeah, makes more sense.
Especially because when he's on the field, a lot of times he's doing penalties. So.
Right. And so Adam Armstrong being extremely good in the championship and being 2.6% selected so far in this offseason.
The key variable here, though, is, yes, he was good in the championship, but he has played in the Premier League.
True. Oh, yes. Right.
In multiple seasons and has not performed super well. The question is, has he found a vein of form? Has he developed and is ready for the Premier League? Or is the championship just his level? That's the question that everybody's trying to figure out right now.
I thought he was fine last time they were up. I mean, I'm not sure
he was one of those guys, if I remember right, he was one of those guys that was like, this guy's a real talent. He can do it, and then scored a goal or something like that. And it's like, oh, this is it. And then
there's nothing.
Never really took off at any point. I think
it's always been behind guys like Shane Long
right.
and
true.
Charlie Austin as
well. But you're right. Good
so
call.
They're getting a run of games was not always helpful.
This is Armstrong's show.
Yeah. Southampton's schedule, I think it mostly helps, and I would say through early November. Just that the way the good and bad matchups fall, I just think that if you did pick Adam Armstrong, and it is it's a fighting Saints team. I don't see why they wouldn't want to try to. I don't know. It seems like they can be good. I guess they start out against at Newcastle, not great, but then Nottingham Forest and Brentford, fine. Home to Manchester United. I don't know what that is. That's probably not great, but whatever. Ipswich and Bournemouth back-to-back. That's real good. You could play him in those two matches. At Arsenal, no way. Home Leicester, yeah, you're in there. At Manchester City, no way. And then Everton and Wolves. Like, that's a really good set of matchups.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, I'm not playing him against this. I can play him twice. Then I can bench him here. If I have to play him here, I can play him twice again. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like the schedule, the schedule works. So that's why I'm like, if he did do something, he would be a guy like, I don't know, like what happens? What if Joao Pedro pulls a hamstring or goes psycho again or something like that? Like, he'd be an easy one to get to because he is like, there's no question about how essential he is to Southampton. I think, something that it seems like with Brighton, where it's like they have a ton of guys. It could be a bunch of these players, where with Southampton, it's like, no, it's kind of got to be him. He's going to take the penalties. He's going to, he is the target man. He averaged 1.5 shots on target per 90 last season.
Yeah.
So that's a really good amount of accurate shooting. So I don't know. Is he going to be in my team? I wouldn't imagine, but that's just like slavery to the template. So if you really wanted to go off template and pick him as your 5.5, if you're going that way in your formation, then I don't see how it's only bad because of the unknown of Southampton, which is worse of an unknown than it is for Brighton, I think, because that's really who you're fighting against.
Yeah, there's a degree of unknown at Brighton, though, too, with the new manager. So I get the João Pedro idea, but I agree.
Chris Wood would be the other one that's in that, just the Chris Wood's 6.
Right.
So what would you rather do? Would you rather find 0.5 and try to really go after those beginning fixtures for Nottingham Forest, which are primarily green matchups until game week 10? You know?
Yeah.
Like, would you rather find that 0.5 and go with Chris Wood, or would you, or do you take the, spend the 0.5 somewhere else and go with Adam Armstrong? I think I'd rather do Adam Armstrong if it was between him and Chris Wood.
I would too. I think so. What about? Oh, I don't know. Maybe not. What about Harwood Bellis? There's a lot of percentage,
a lot of noise
ownership.
around him.
He plays center back for them. It looks like he plays center. It looks like they against Getafe they played a 3-4-3.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously with Kyle Walker-Peters and I don't know, Sugawara.
Yeah.
Sugawara.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's the guy.
But Hardwood Bellis
Sugawara or Hardwood Bellis?
Sugawara is the guy that I think is the better
own.
To me, it's like it's because he's 0.5 more, and you're not picking someone from Southampton for 4.5. If you're picking from someone from Southampton, you're picking them because they're 4.0. That's why.
Right.
So that's the reason why Harwood Bellis is the
12% ownership is
he higher than Wout Faes? Has he passed him or not? Either way,
Great
he's
question.
over 10% selected as a 4.0 defender for Southampton.
Harwood Bellis.
Harwood Bellis.
He's a 12 something.
But why? Is it?
It's because he's 4.0.
Fast is at 8%.
Okay, so
So
he is
12%
Harwood Bellis is the
by
most
a
owned
lot,
4.0.
yeah.
So I mean that's it. He's just there because he's starting at a 4.0.
His SOFA score rating last season, he was the 10th best defender, 7.2 rating. Do you care about player ratings? I feel
No.
like people do look at player ratings, but people
I appreciate
pay attention to them.
that you pointed out, because it definitely does help to
I think it matters.
to aggregate the statistics, but I don't pay attention to that.
I think it does matter, especially in these scenarios going into it. Yeah, I mean, look, what's the bottom line? Points are points. We want to know. We want to see it translate into fantasy points.
His best
player ratings do translate into bonus points, and they eventually
That's fair.
will
That's
turn
fair.
into fantasy.
So here's your Harwood Bellis breakdown.
Okay.
Per NBC Sports.
He's doing a lot of this today.
It's okay. This is Bill Walton,
Just
arms
a lot of
extended,
this.
cameras can't contain
Per
it.
NBC Sports. Harwood Bellis averaged almost 88 completed passes per game.
Okay, well, but he's a center back. He's moving the ball
Right.
around. All right.
Very normal for a center back. He completed 92.3% of his passes.
To his other defenders.
92.3% accurate passing, which was weirdly enough, 8th best for defenders in the championship for the season.
Wow.
But I'm sure some of that was probably people who played fewer minutes or whatever and had like 100% completion percentage, whatever. Either way, extremely highly accurate for that volume because he completed 3,700 passes. So he completed the third most passes. That passing,
They're playing out of the back.
That passing, though, we already know from the bonus point system, like accurate passes and a volume of accurate passes, if they keep clean sheets, then it matters. So the issue with him, though, is
Are they going to keep clean sheets?
Right. So he doesn't do anything attacking wise.
Okay.
He took 28 shots, which is
Okay.
fine. So he was tied for 13th for defenders. So just by comparison, Kyle Walker-Peters took 37 shots.
Okay.
So even as a center back, he was outshot by Kyle Walker-Peters. Kyle Walker-Peters, way more advanced, way more attacking, just like he was the last time we saw him in the Premier League.
Right.
And had 6 shots on target, which is outside the top 10. So, like, I guess other than being slightly better as a team for Southampton than Leicester is, like than Wout Fass.
Sure.
Like, and other than 4-0, I don't know what.
Okay.
I don't know what you're expecting. I don't know. I don't know why he'd be 12-9.
All right.
As
Well,
far
again,
as, you know what I mean?
We're
That
just
is
trying to
interesting.
educate our pod listeners. So it's good to
Our
ask
education
questions.
is why.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the other thing. And look, I'll say this right now. I try to stay away from the guys who are owned the most, because what happens, they are the most susceptible in the first 2 weeks to get
Price
sold.
drops, yeah.
And when a massive percentage, if there's a shift, all of a sudden your guy at 4-0, you're having to waste a transfer. Because let me tell you, we've gone over this before. Maybe we'll get to it later. I think I know I've said it before. You lose a 10th in the first couple weeks, it's brutal. It is tough to get back. Later in the season, I don't care. Up until probably about week 16, I'm not trying to lose a 10th on anybody.
No, for sure. And I would just think he's like that last defender spot for you is the most movable, barring something weird happening with like, hey, Trent has 3 assists in week 1, and all of a sudden the whole world is trying to figure out how to get Trent in their team for week 2.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, well, buy Gvardiol, buy Gabriel, buy Saliba, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Welcome to the team, Trent.
Right.
Like, you're probably going to move, but I'm just thinking the next casualty for your team is going from 4-0 defender up to 4-5 defender.
Yeah.
It just seems like there are so many 4-5 guys.
There are.
And that's why I'm saying, even on their own team, like Sugawara is, he's 0.2%. It's obvious why. Why would you go for a 4-5 Southampton defender? But he was the one who was the most creative. So he created 53 chances in 30 games playing in the Eredivisie.
Mm-hmm.
So played for Alkmaar.
Okay.
So created almost 2 chances per 90.
Okay.
Again, like that's like Dutch League to Premier League. You know, those figures don't.
That's not
really.
It's apples and apples, right?
Yeah, it's almost
Definitely.
exactly the
All right.
same.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. He's the guy, though, that I think of, if anyone, him and Brereton Diaz. I think everyone kind of see those two guys as like, this is good. This is really good business for Southampton getting those two.
Diaz is the guy. He would be the own. I currently own Smith Rowe at a 5.5, and then Oscar Bob at a 5. But Diaz and next pod we're gonna record again, and we'll discuss the rest of our teams. But
this episode,
not on this episode, so I'll stop talking. But Diaz is someone I could easily see myself going to and/or wild carding in within the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Also from Alfie House from the Daily Echo, he talked about Ben Diaz. Even though he only started the 2 matches so far, he said he looks like a real threat and offers a different dimension than what they had during their last season.
I've seen him do it
because he's
in
big.
the Premier League.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it.
He's a big man. And the way Alfie House put it was he could easily become only the 3rd player to hit double figures for Premier League goals for Southampton since 2016.
Okay.
So I think that's the level of optimism that Southampton writers would have for someone like Ben Diaz, and I think that's just like what did he score, 6? I think he scored 6 in the league from the time he came in for Sheffield last season. He only played like
14 matches.
Yeah, he barely played.
He played 1,000 minutes, scored 6 goals, had 1 assist.
See,
he had an XG of 5.52, which is good because he was clinical when he did play. But yeah, I would agree with that. His ownership is so low too, 0.7 right now, which is, again, it's early, but yeah, I'll give you that one at 5.5.
Diaz,
he's also classified as a midfielder, and he's definitely going to play forward.
Will Barrington Diaz score more points in the first 6 match weeks than Luis Diaz.
Ooh,
Who's the better
That's
Diaz?
tough. That's tough.
Who's the better
am not
Diaz?
Interested. I'm not interested. I cannot
Just
make.
for fun, I will take
Oof.
the Barrington Bear.
That's
Ben.
the problem.
I will take him.
That's the problem. Is I don't know if I want to take the other Diaz.
Let's do it.
We don't keep track of our
It's
bets
on the
anyways.
table.
Come on.
Yes,
Why
we
bother?
do. Yes,
Why
we
bother?
do.
defend your guy.
I can't.
We're gonna-
He bleached his hair. I can't. I don't know. I think he got slower because of it.
Again,
All right.
I think it's the same issue with Ben Diaz as it is for all the people we said about Amari Hutchinson. Like it's because of that range of player. You know, the question is there? You know, I've seen it from.
Yeah, but he's gonna be playing striker.
FPL.
I
just
think
saying
so
from
too,
F-
yeah.
From
He's gonna be
from
playing-
an FPL pundit
I
discussion.
think he's the
it's
guy.
like,
I think he's definitely the guy that everybody's gonna want to pick up because he's playing. He's classified as a midfielder.
I might bring him.
He's
in
going to
over
be playing
Smith-Rowe.
up front, and he's going to get the odd goal every other week.
And who's
Even if
taking
their
their
team
pens?
gets smashed.
Who's taking their pens?
Adam
Seriously.
Armstrong will take him.
Right.
Why wouldn't Adam Armstrong?
I think
Yeah,
I think
you're
they're
right.
gonna play,
You're right.
That's fair. Maybe
You're right.
maybe they
Armstrong.
won't play 2 strikers.
All right. Anything
Even
else
if
on
he plays the
Southampton?
9.
Let's move to Leicester. Let's move to Leicester here in just a second. Scanning.
I just want to see.
scanning.
I just want to see.
I got
I just
nothing.
want to see one thing.
All right.
Just want to see. I just wanted to see. How,
Travis, again, just think about it. Before this section of the pod is over, you want to go 7 weeks? 8 weeks?
No, I'm not taking that.
You don't even know if Diaz is starting
I
for
don't
you.
even know if he's going to play. The issue is, though, with Carvalho leaving, he probably will, and that's where my wheels were turning to the point where it's just a matter of if Gakpo's going to get on the field, and Gakpo's looked terrible in preseason compared to
He looked good in
Euros. Yeah. So,
Interesting.
but Diaz, like they played this past weekend. Diaz scored 2, and Gakpo looked like he just woke up in the car park
Wow.
and showed up.
Okay.
It was not good. So I think Diaz is
So
going to
the
get the
bleached
start.
hair is fueling him to a scoring spree.
It must
Let's
be.
make the bet.
just do it.
How many weeks?
I initially said 6 weeks. Do you feel good about that?
6 weeks. All right. So I'm starting a document.
Yes.
Yeah,
bets.
there we go.
I knew it.
Finally.
I knew we could finally.
right.
While you're developing that, I just wanted to say that Adam Armstrong took 4 penalties last season,
Okay.
scored all 4.
Okay.
The only other Southampton player to attempt one, presumably when Adam Armstrong was not on the pitch, was Carlos Alcaraz, and he missed it.
So they only took
However-
4 or 5 pens in the entire season, the 48 championship season?
Yeah. Jamie Vardy took 5.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I can't believe
I'm
Vardy's
just saying,
still playing.
like that's why I'm just saying, like
Vardy is still playing. That is
me,
unreal.
Ben Diaz would be someone else that would take them because he was taking them for Sheffield. Obviously, he is a good enough penalty taker to have already done it once in the league.
Right.
So if for whatever reason, if it came down to it, he's out there.
Okay.
This
Adam
is
Armstrong's
first 6
not.
weeks, right?
First 6 weeks.
All
It's
right.
exciting for you.
Documented.
Yes, let's go. First bet on the board. What a way to start the Promotion Club podcast.
It's exciting.
Let's do it.
I can't wait for you guys to tie with 0 versus 0.
It will be the 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 0. It will be fantastic. All right, Brian, while Travis is buttoning that up, let's move on to Leicester. Wah, wah.
Leicester.
Congratulations, Leicester Football Club. You made it back up to the show. We now have a King Power. That is your stadium back in the league. Leicester City Football Club, the Foxes, founded in 1884, 140 years ago. Their capacity, a massive 32,312. Sounds like a championship level stadium to me.
You're a hater.
I will not mention their Brian, you might be able to because we did a how to say multiple years ago on their chairman's name.
Yeah, we did that.
Do you think you could pull that out of a hat? Do you think you could rip his name off right now?
It was something like Sriadana Prabha, something like that.
That's got to be pretty close. Their manager is Steve Cooper. I hate it, but I love Steve Cooper.
Not for long.
Not for long. See, is he the odds-on favorite to get lynched?
I would say
lynched. Bad term. Sacked.
I don't think we say that anymore.
Yeah, we don't say that anymore. It's a bad term. Sacked.
The Foxes are the BetMG or Bet365 odds-on favorite to be relegated.
Okay.
71.4%.
Okay.
Relegation percentage chance. It's extremely high. For comparison, Southampton's percentage chance was 44%.
Okay.
For relegation.
All right.
Although, Dave, they are 1,400 to 1 on BetMGM to win the Premier League. So
1,400 to 1.
So if you want to put that you want to put a grand down now,
that's better odds than when they won it, I believe.
Way better.
Which is shocking. Leicester's won 1 Premier League, 1 FA Cup, 3 League Cups, and 2 Community Shields.
You want to put $100 down, reap your miracle rewards later. Let the bookies come to you to cancel the bet.
No. There is that just to think back at that when they won the Premier League that year. What a perfect storm.
Just put $20
What a perfect storm for that club.
Throw $20 away.
Good for them.
No.
Good for them. But what a perfect storm for them. All right, let's get into. I can't believe
the roster is terrible.
Put down $1.
You're right. It would be worth putting down $1, probably.
It's bad because they already lost their best player from last season.
Connor Cody?
No.
Jamie Vardy.
A different guy. No, not him either.
Pat Sendaka.
No, Dewsbury Hall.
Never heard of him.
He plays for the.
He now plays for Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Oh, you mean Danny
Chelsea?
Drinkwater? Danny Drinkwater went to Chelsea?
No, and
because
not,
it reads exactly like when Danny Drinkwater went from Leicester to Chelsea,
and not Dennis Pratt.
Wasted
either.
his life.
Dewsbury Hall accounted for 12 goals and 14 assists.
Wow.
The 4th best player or 6th best player, depending on whether you're looking at who scored or SofaScore. Yeah, just that he was their chance creator. So who fills that role for them? You lose your manager to Chelsea.
Is it Harry Winks?
It's Harry Winks is the only one that's on the field that can do that.
I would say
Ndidi probably too.
I would say
Ndidi isn't a creator. He's a defensive guy.
I was going to say I don't think it's Harry Winks either, and I'll tell you why. Harry Winks. So already he was in my team for a second because he is one of the.
His ownership is high.
It's over 10%. Just say he's an enabler. Though it's this thing. So he's 4.5, or just that he's 4.5. Again, other than cheap, I don't know why. This is why I would say no to Harry Winks, and why I would just say find anyone else. Find 0.5 and go up to Rogers or Bob.
Or Rogers.
He was Leicester's number 1 tackler last season. So he had 73 tackles, but tackles often include fouls. He was also the number 1 fouler.
Winks was their number 1 tackler?
Yeah.
Weird.
But he was also their number 1 fouler. So he committed 52 fouls.
You sound disgusted by that.
He was second on the team for yellow cards. So Yannick Vestergaard was number 1, had 13 yellows, and Winks was second with 9 yellows. He's going to need to be more tackly and fouly this season than he was last season.
Yes, that's true.
So
tackly and foully. I think that is the
said.
That is the professional terminology.
I'm saying that what else do you want from him? Like when will you ever feel good about playing him? So I guess that's what I'm saying. Like to me, like that one number isn't going to define every single thing about him, but that's not like when do you ever want the guy that gets the most yellow cards on the team? Like you're always going to be tightrope suspension with him, through the season. And also he plays for Leicester.
Brian,
it seems like you're not going to ever want that.
What about your boy James Justin?
That's
He's back, Brian.
So that's the one
your
thing.
Your boy.
That's the one thing about Leicester is that their back line is a Premier League back line, even if it's a terrible one. It was one that has been here before. Foss, Vestergaard,
James
and then
Justin.
James Justin and Ricardo Pereira.
Yeah, you're right.
And Connor Cody is a
And
good.
Connor Cody is also there. That is true.
And Luke Thomas. Luke Thomas has played there
also
before.
played before. So that's
You're right. Their defense isn't slouchy.
it's not the worst. It's just that. So here's your quotes. This is
and then I can't believe he's still there. Your boy Ricardo Pereira is still on the team.
I just said that. So here's.
I was looking at
I know. So here's what
He'll be injured before too long. Don't worry.
Here's what
true.
you want, Dave.
Well said.
This is like as though written for you only.
Okay.
The Foxes of Leicester.com yesterday morning. The headline title of the article: Could Steve Cooper become the only Premier League manager sacked in the preseason? Like the instant
do?
joy.
All right. Hold on, real quick. Can I give you their preseason? Doesn't mean anything. Can I give you their preseason results real quick? Unless you were about to do that, Brian.
No, I was going to just finish round it out, man.
They beat Villarreal early, 2-1, and then they beat Shrewsbury 2-1. The last 3 matches, they lost 1-0 to Palmero, 1-0 to Augsburg, and then 3-0 to Lens.
Yep.
So they are not coming in very, very hot into the regular season.
I mean, they don't really have a striker right now either.
Foxes of Leicester asking the question, how long will Steve Cooper be on Filbert Way if these substandard and disjointed performances continue into the competitive season? The offseason has gone so badly on and off the pitch that Cooper could conceivably have been dismissed and replaced by a Leicester City regime seemingly somewhat out of touch with footballing reality.
Wow.
Not only that,
Wow.
Leicester is facing a potential 10-point deduction to start the season.
Stop.
The hearing for that is TBD. ESPN
I'd
days
like to
ago.
think they're dealing with Manchester City before we get to the Leicester City.
You fish the little fish first.
Oh.
According to
And then
the
you
FA,
catch the
that's
big fish.
exactly what they're saying. Which is why Nottingham Forest and Everton got docked.
3 days ago,
Multiple
ESPN, in their 5 questions that will shape the Premier League season, question number 3 asking, are Leicester already doomed?
Wow. Okay.
Newly promoted Foxes appear to be in an even trickier position than Everton and Nottingham Forest were last year, as rather than work with the Premier League and admit fault, which led to Nottingham Forest and Everton getting leniency in their punishments,
Okay.
Leicester have fought back at every turn. They didn't supply their accounts on time. They've argued the league's authority over their accounts while they were in the championship, and they've already lost an appeal with an independent committee.
They're in trouble.
They're in huge trouble.
Okay. All right.
So, and then your opening schedule
is so great.
goes Tottenham,
You sound
Fulham,
happy.
Villa,
So great.
Palace, Everton, Arsenal in the first 6 games.
Over.
Travis and Dave, bet number 2, will Leicester have 4 points when they get to Bournemouth in game week 7? Obviously, barring the 10-point deduction.
Read those matches again.
Your first 6 games for the Leicester City
Tottenham?
Foxes.
No.
Tottenham, Fulham away, Aston Villa at home, Crystal Palace away, Everton at home.
How many points do you think they have?
Can they get? Will they have 4?
No,
Will they
that
have
was 5.
4?
That was 5. That was 5.
6 games.
Does it say
Tottenham,
6?
they're home to Tottenham.
Okay.
1
Right.
at Fulham 2,
Okay.
home Villa 3, at Palace 4,
Everton.
home Everton 5,
Right. And what's the 6?
at Arsenal.
Yeah. No, they will not have 4 points. No. No
I don't
way.
want them to have 4 points.
No way.
I don't want to take the
No way they're going to have 4 points.
over 3. at that point.
You're getting some.
All right,
some tougher,
over under 3.5.
I just
points.
can't. I can't.
I'm not taking the over.
All they got to do is nick one win, and they are right,
take
right
it.
there.
They
You take it.
Absolutely not.
They're
This
not
is,
gonna
I'm
nick
the
a
one
win
that
there.
brought this up.
They're not nicking a win. They're not nicking a win on that schedule.
No.
They-
But
they're
here's
taking a
what I'm going to do
loss.
though. Here's what I'm going to do though. I'm going to document this because I want us to go back to it.
Well, Andor, I would love to see, and if a listener or anyone in our mini league wants to chime in on this and go, I'll take that. Let's go. We will document and we will move it on. I don't think there's any way they have 4 points by the time they get to the end of 6. All right.
When they get to game week 7, they get Bournemouth, Southampton, Nottingham Forest, Ipswich. But by then, you might not have Steve Cooper managing you. By then, you're at like those. So even in that first 6, like how different is Fulham, Palace, Everton compared to Spurs, Villa, Arsenal?
Right.
No, that's exactly what I was looking at is can they get a win out of one of those 3? Everton's the only one that I think they might be able to pull off, but there's no way. No.
So
documented but passed. All right.
Anything else with Leicester? I say no.
Only that
They suck.
Only
There's
that
no way there.
You're,
I like the mojo.
Enablers assemble. It's Wout Fass, it's Harry Winks, and I guess you could say Jamie Vardy.
We didn't mention De Cordova-Reid also going there. He's been somewhat
add a little
reliable.
bit of a spark.
So I was going to say it's not all bad news. I think that signing Bobby Reid is a plus. I mean,
Sure.
that's a good player, or at least the best of him that
Sure.
we've seen of him has been very good. Also, they permanently signed Abdul Fatawu, who was one of their top players last season.
Who?
He's
Gotcha.
13 assists for them last season. Created 66 chances.
Hey, that's good.
Per Chewy FPL, CHEWIE, like Chewbacca, Chewy FPL, created 32 big chances in the championship, which was number 1 overall,
good.
which is extremely good. So that's a guy who I know Leicester
Fatawa.
fans would want him to be there. It's just this is not a player you're considering. This is just a player who's very good for them.
Yeah.
Who they very necessarily need to have there.
He's still 5'5".
Buonanotte from Brighton.
Right.
They got him in there too. Wout Fass is at almost 10, but he's at 8%.
Yeah.
But again, that's because 4-0.
Yeah. I know. And he's starting. Again, Barco and Ben Johnson better. All right. All right. Well done. Gentlemen, Brian, anything else? I'm not trying to cut you
that
short.
really is it.
Travis, anything else you want to say? No. Awesome information, gentlemen.
Would you seriously, out of these 3 teams, who would you seriously, honestly think about? Leaf Davis, number 1?
No. Leaf Davis or Leaf Davis is not
Ipswich,
a 4-0.
Ipswich backs are probably the way to go for me.
Right. I currently have I have a tractor boy, Ben Johnson.
And then
if I had the
Omari.
point in Hutchinson, probably.
He's on a watch. He's on a watch
No,
list.
Southampton.
Or would you put Adam
Diaz.
Armstrong?
Southampton's Diaz.
Diaz.
I think.
Would you
Diaz is
have
up
Diaz
there.
over Adam Armstrong?
Well, Diaz is a midfielder.
No, I know, but as far as
that is key right there.
But I
Diaz
just
is
think
midfielder.
you're saying you wouldn't waste a forward spot on Adam Armstrong. You would rather use a 5th midfielder spot for Ben Diaz.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
The way I had my team set up, I would spend it in the midfield. Obviously, he'd be my current 5-5 midfielder is Smith Rowe, but Diaz might actually be the better play. I don't know. We'll see. I'm torn there. It will not shock me at all if on my wild card Diaz is in my wild card. There might be valuable early points missed because people are launching to Diaz. Ben Johnson, I love him. And listen, Diaz is playing forward more than just midfield. So he's playing advanced. Most people like guys playing advanced. Ben Johnson, I've seen where he's played advanced. So you giving me a chance at a Lundstrom, yeah, then I with Ben Johnson, then I want to try to take it.
Well, no, and I guess the issue is like there's nothing about Leicester. I just can't imagine that anyone on their team does anything where you're like, oh, I have to get him.
I gotta go get him. Right. No, I hear you.
And keep him.
Yeah.
Where both of the other teams, I think both Southampton and Ipswich both have, at least for the first in the range of 10 weeks.
Even though their preseason hasn't shown this, I could see their goalkeeper at a 4-5. If you really want to go with a 4-5 goalkeeper, although I'd rather take Flecken, but Hermanson, who's been their starting goalkeeper
for that was no, who got him?
Who?
Muric. Muric. Who was Burnley's goalkeeper?
It's Ipswich.
Yeah, that's not a bad. That's another one that I think is.
It's Ipswich.
Who's been there before? Alex McCarthy is Southampton's.
Right.
That is the presumed starter for them. I'm not sure.
Bazunu.
I would just rather. I mean, Brentford. I would rather take Flecken.
Right.
But you're right. Those guys are not bad. And the only reason why, obviously, Leicester didn't show it in their last 3 preseason matches. They're giving up goals galore. But, Brian, you're right. They do have a Premier League defenders who have played in the Premier League. And
it wouldn't be the first time where one of the goalkeepers from a promoted team ended up
being a good owner.
Yeah, or saving a weird penalty at some point or whatever. And
For
you're
sure.
like, why was he buried on my bench?
Yeah,
I thought about playing him.
Happens all the time. All right. Let's wrap up the preseason promotion pod right now.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Really, it's it.
No more.
Awesome. Well, that is fantastic. We're going to launch next into our final pod before the season starts this weekend. For the FPL America podcast, this is David Smith. Until next time.